There's a lot of confusion and frustration building right now among millions of Americans who depend on Social Security. And no, it's not just about the cost of living adjustment or the next COLA increase. It's deeper than that. It's about what happens when rising prices, broken promises, and policy changes collide in real life. This isn't some hypothetical situation for the future. This is unfolding right now. And if you receive Social Security, SSDI, SSI, VA, or survivor benefits, you're going to want to listen carefully because what you think you're getting next year may not be what actually shows up in your bank account. Let's start with what we know. Every year, the federal government adjusts benefits through something called the cost of living adjustment. It's supposed to help you keep up with inflation. This year, experts say that number could land somewhere around 3%. Sounds okay on the surface. But the reality for most beneficiaries is very different. A 3% raise on a fixed income of $1,200 a month equals just 36 extra dollars. And if your rent, groceries, electricity, or medications have gone up by hundreds, what is $36 really going to do? Not much. And it gets worse. Because while your benefits are going up by about 3%, your expenses are likely to rise even more. For example, Medicare Part B premiums are expected to increase by over $21.50 per month. That could eat up almost your entire COLA increase in one shot. You waited all year for a little more breathing room, only to find out it's already spoken for before it even arrives. That's not progress. That's standing still at best, or falling further behind at worst. For millions of older adults, people with disabilities, widows, and veterans, that kind of financial pressure is suffocating. And what's even more frustrating is how some politicians are spinning this situation like a win. Some are calling it a Trump bump, or pretending that next year's increase is some kind of bonus or gift. But when the reality is that higher premiums cancel out higher benefits, it doesn't feel like a gift. It feels like a shell game. It's closer to Trump change. It might look good in a press release, but in the real world, where rent is due, pills need to be refilled, and gas needs to be paid for, that bump barely moves the needle. And that's not even touching the larger issue, which is that Social Security benefits have been lagging behind true inflation for years. While the government uses the CPIW to calculate adjustments, it doesn't reflect the actual spending patterns of seniors or people with disabilities. It underweights healthcare, housing, and out of pocket expenses, some of the biggest burdens people on fixed incomes face, which means the system is designed in a way that keeps beneficiaries behind. You're always chasing the dollar, never catching up to it. That's why some lawmakers have proposed switching to a different formula called the CPIE, which better reflects what older adults actually spend money on. But so far, it hasn't gone anywhere. Just another proposal sitting on the shelf while people struggle in the real world. Meanwhile, every month feels tighter than the last. You try to stretch every dollar, you skip meals, you delay appointments, you cut back on things that used to be considered basic. And for what? A cola that might give you 30 bucks while Medicare takes 20? That's the situation we're heading into in 2026, unless something changes. And sadly, change rarely happens unless people demand it. These aren't abstract numbers, they're daily decisions. They're missed meals. They're skipped medications. They're isolation because you can't afford the bus fare to go see someone. This is about dignity, about stability, about keeping people safe and well in a system that's supposed to support them. So let's talk about what you can actually do. Because while you may not be able to stop inflation or rewrite laws, you're not powerless either. First, make sure you know exactly how the next few months are going to unfold. The official COLA number will be announced in October, and it'll be based on third quarter inflation numbers. Medicare will also announce the final premium amount around that same time. Keep an eye on that figure. Don't just assume a 3% raise will put more in your pocket. Do the math based on your own situation. Second, consider taking time now to review your monthly expenses. Are you enrolled in the best Part D plan for your prescriptions? Are you eligible for Medicare savings programs, which can cover your Part B premium entirely? Are you getting help through your state's energy or food assistance programs? It's not charity. It's your right to access these resources. You've paid into this system for years. You deserve the full support that comes with it. Third, keep your documents up to date. When COLA increases roll out, sometimes other benefits shift with them. Your SNAP benefits might be recalculated. Your rent and subsidized housing might change. Make sure you report updates promptly and accurately. The last thing you want is an overpayment issue because your benefit amount changed and no one updated the records. Fourth, stay vocal. When lawmakers are holding hearings and writing budget bills, your voice matters. You don't have to go to Washington to be heard. You can write, call, or join local advocacy groups that fight for seniors and disabled Americans. The more noise people make, the harder it becomes for Congress to ignore what's really going on. And finally, don't let frustration turn into despair. The system may feel like it's stacked against you, and often it is, but knowledge is power. Knowing what's coming, understanding how it affects you, and taking small steps to protect yourself can make a difference. Even if it's just a few dollars, a few saved hours, or a bit more peace of mind. One of the most important things to understand is how easily these changes can slip under the radar. They don't always announce things loudly. A few lines in a long budget proposal, a quiet update in a subcommittee hearing, that's often where the most impactful changes get tucked away. That's how people wake up one day and find their benefits garnished or their checks suddenly lower without ever hearing a formal warning. This is why being proactive matters so much. Even if something seems minor, like a $5 adjustment to a premium or a rule change around eligibility, the ripple effect can be huge, especially if you're already on a fixed income. And unfortunately, the people most impacted are often the ones least informed because they're too busy surviving to chase down government updates. That's why having clear, simple, and timely information is more than a convenience. It's a necessity. There's also growing concern about future offsets. Lawmakers have hinted at adjusting income thresholds for benefit taxes or changing how they calculate the COLA using a different inflation index. On paper, those moves might seem reasonable, but for seniors and people with disabilities, the impact could be devastating. Imagine getting a small cost of living bump, only to be pushed into a higher tax bracket or to lose access to a discount program you rely on. That's not just frustrating, that's dangerous. These concerns aren't paranoia. They're grounded in how the system has functioned for decades. It reacts slowly, it communicates poorly, and it often puts the burden on the people who have the least room to adapt. That's why the fight for transparency and fairness isn't just political, it's personal. So if it feels like you're always a step behind, just know you're not alone. Millions of people are feeling the same squeeze. But together, with information and advocacy, we can keep the pressure on lawmakers to make smarter, more compassionate decisions. Because in the end, Social Security isn't charity, it's earned. And if you've worked a lifetime for these benefits, you deserve more than silence and fine print. You deserve answers, respect, and support. You deserve